What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Croak, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Spawnhour and Theo Ash. And today, we're giving you part two of an episode that was a ton of fun to do in part one, redrafting the entire NFL. If you're familiar with the concept, it's probably because you've played a little bit of Madden before. You take every NFL team, remove all of their players, and you're redrafting from zero. In round one, we did the reverse order of the expected 2027 NFL draft order. We decided to go snake order for round two and then do a third round reversal. So rounds 2 and 3 have the same order that they did, or have the same order as each other, opposite of what we did in round 1. But before we get into it, Matt, Theo, on this beautiful Wednesday evening, I would love to hear how you guys are doing.
Doing well. Yeah, can't complain. I've been hunting for a new apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment instead of a 1-bedroom apartment, which is very exciting. There's a world of possibilities. I can become a better person. Like, everything about my life can get better, and it's all out there on the horizon. That's the beautiful thing about apartment hunting. I feel like I can become anything, and my life is about to just improve 100%.
You could live in a big anchor like Mr. Krabs.
I could live in a big anchor. We looked at a place that had like this wild spiral staircase and a converted sauna that turned into like a bathroom / closet. It was very whimsical, but it was also the ceiling was a little bit moldy. So I think it got eliminated, even though there was a lot of whimsy.
Yeah, there's a lot less whimsy in the mold, and I think a spiral staircase is stupid anyway. So probably
it was a little bit hard to go down.
You know, it depends on how tight of a spiral it is, because you get some of those where it's like it's basically trying to be a ladder, right? It's trying to take up the amount of room that a ladder does. And then you're at, some sort of like beach house or something. I feel like they're very popular in.
Yeah.
And then you're going round and round and round, and you can get dizzy and whatnot. So, and they just feel rickety. I'm not a huge fan of those types, but if it's like a big spiral staircase where you don't feel like you're turning 60 degrees every step, those are pretty sweet. No offense to anybody who has a tight spiral staircase in their house.
I'm sure yours is cool.
Yeah, I'm sure you're a lot more able to go with the flow than a guy like me, or you have different taste, or you see the positives that I can't see, or you don't just have an opinion about every little tiny thing. How about
Matt? I read an article from Time magazine that was about controlling your anger. I thought it might help you. There are 3 little words that you can say. There are 3 words that you can say that calm you down. Well, you just got anger issues, So if you say "this is rage," you'll calm down because you're labeling the emotion.
Oh, so, yeah, because I when I'm angry, I never have any idea, like, I'm upset right now. I'm sort of like, Theo, you've got it. I'm sort of like a big ape, right? And I roam around after this episode, most likely, because we've pre-done these picks. I've seen a few of these picks. So I'll be enraged, and I'm going to go probably walking on my feet and fists down to Main Strauss and Covington, and I'm probably going to tear everything up. Unless...
Not if you say "this is rage," and then you...
and then I'll stand up, I'll look at wait a minute. No.
You'll cease becoming the emotion and start being human again when you label it.
Yeah.
All right.
So when I pick a running back, just keep that in mind.
It's not...
I'll try.
Yeah, we've seen some... We've, of course, seen the picks already. There was one pick, Theo, that I saw as I was, like, setting up to record this, and I had to double take because I thought for sure that couldn't be real.
A pick that I made?
Yes.
But I made all good picks.
This is true.
This is talking about one of your selections, which were all crazy. No.
Well, I have the first 2 picks here at the top of the second round. If we wanted to get into this draft here, first round was all quarterback heavy. 13th pick was Will Anderson, the first non-quarterback off the board. And then even after that, a lot of quarterbacks to follow. But looking at these first 2 picks here, Miami and Arizona, I'm going to keep the trend going, and I'm going to go double up at quarterback. Creed Humphrey is going to be matched up with Jared Goff under center. And yeah, a little bit older, but we're getting to the point in the quarterbacks where you kind of just need one. And I'm not willing, especially if I'm a team like Miami and Arizona, who's not going to pick again for another round, of course. Like, I just don't want to be waiting that long to get another shot at a quarterback. I think you can afford in round one to not do that because you have the pick back to back. But in round two here with that many picks in between, I think it's a big risk with a lot of other teams also needing quarterbacks here still. So Jared Goff, I think, is probably the best one available, and so that's who I went with.
Yeah, so like a number of things. First off, no matter what, even with the third round reversal, you're at a pretty big disadvantage picking late in this draft versus early. Third round reversal is something in fantasy that people will do sometimes, but in a draft this big where the gap between the top, 7 guys, 8 guys in terms of value and the 32nd guy is way bigger than even 1 through 12. It's just tough to balance that out. And I do agree. I think after the quarterbacks that you take before the first non-QB, so that'd be like our top 10 that we had. We did an episode on that, our list, and then maybe like Lawrence and Jaden Daniels on top of that. After those guys, and minus Stafford because of his bizarro age, you start to get into this tier of quarterback where they're very dependent on their situation. They're good enough to be the leader of a really good offense, but they need to be in the right spot to be able to do it. And there's really only so many guys who are even good enough to you can say that about. There's plenty of guys where even in a good situation, they're going to fall apart pretty quickly and they can't really lead an offense like that. But there's a lot of dudes in that tier, and I think most of them would either go in round 1 or early in round 2 in a real life draft. So I think taking Goff, who is kind of like the prime example of that, right? He's so strongly his identity of very in the pocket. He can hit every throw, but he's not a creator and he's not good under pressure. So you can't ask him to build things that the passing game isn't creating, but he can execute well. And there's also some other categories of guys like, particularly like the young players who are still huge question marks who maybe we're waiting and seeing. But I think most of the young guys too would also go pretty highly, like Mendoza, Ward, Shuck, Dart, that type of player.
Right. So Goff is who I took at the top. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Theo.
I just want to say pairing him with Creed Humphrey, it just reminds me of Ragnow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Jared,
that was a huge retirement that hit the Lions, and indeed it really hurt them. I mean, especially I feel like in matchups against Minnesota and Brian Flores, who can really blitz their linebackers, not having a center who can handle that just killed those games. And if they could have won either of those games, they probably would have made the playoffs, but they lost them both. And I feel like it makes some sense pairing him with a center who can prevent that interior pressure when he's so sensitive to pressure. It makes a little bit of sense to me, just that pairing, kind of getting back to what made the 2024 and 2023 Lions work so well with some historic all-time offenses. Like pairing Goff with some interior help on the offensive line might be a good idea.
Yeah. Now, my next pick is, I think, the first pick that I actually regretted because I saw the next quarterback that went off the board here. But I took CJ Stroud. Even though CJ Stroud's had some down seasons, this is for Arizona, by the way. CJ Stroud has not been the guy that we saw as a rookie as of late, but I still think he has that in him. And I think a lot of this is projection that he'll get back to that. But Bo Nix is the guy that I probably should have taken here. But I still feel confident. Stroud, I still feel like is in that tier, but
yeah, I mean, they're two very different guys. Nix is he's a good athlete, but the passing game can be a little simple sometimes, and he bails from the pocket quickly, which has its upsides and its downsides. But now he's coming off like a pretty serious injury too with the whole ankle thing. And if that slows him down at all, you wonder how much that could really cost the type of player he is. Stroud, on the other hand, is coming off simply like some really horrifically bad games. Not that long ago, he would have been in the tier of guys that would have gone above every non-quarterback, in my opinion, right? And I think most people would agree. But you just can't play like he did under pressure, where he was such a disaster, and stick up there. Now, here's the thing. We've seen guys before play like that and then kind of rebound or fall into that and then get back. I think about Bryce Young in particular, right? And if he does, all of a sudden you've got this guy who is very accurate and can stand tough in the pocket, and he's had his moments of being very good under pressure. If you got rookie Stroud or whatever, or even earlier last season Stroud, you would feel really good about this selection, actually.
That's true.
But there's certainly a little bit more risk that comes with it versus Bo Nix, who I thought played an overall very good game against the Bills in the playoffs, right? Whereas Stroud, again, back-to-back games to finish the season where he was just a total anchor and the worst player, if the worst starter on the Texans, it felt like.
Yeah, I don't hate going with Stroud here at all. I mean, if you were to rank, and I think the Athletic Football Show just did this. I didn't listen to the episode, but I saw some of the aggregation of them ranking supporting casts in each conference. But like, yeah, you'd put the Denver supporting cast at number 1, and you'd put Houston supporting cast like near the bottom. And despite that discrepancy, I think a lot of the advanced stats like would have Nix and Stroud pretty similar. And Stroud did have a disastrous playoff run and did take some bad sacks last year and all that. But rookie year, he took 331 yards worth of sacks. Second year, 408. Last year, 189. So statistically, there is some growth there. And I think without a good offensive line, I mean, they traded Laramie Tunsil away last year, who might be the best left tackle in the league. No real run game to speak of. Like, Stroud has excuses. At the end of the day, he has excuses. And yeah, he performed terribly in the playoffs, but so did Justin Herbert, who went in the top 5 in this draft. So CJ Stroud, I don't think that he's a sneak here at all.
Than Stroud.
I don't think so. I mean, CJ Stroud is in a pretty horrific situation, and he played that last game without Nico Collins, who got hurt in the Pittsburgh game.
That's true.
So he was in a terrible situation, and it was in the rain. He stinks in the rain, which is a problem, but he stinks in the rain. He was in the rain without his wide receiver 1, no run game, no offensive line. Like, I think Stroud has issues, and obviously it's a problem that he hasn't gone up from 2023. I mean, the playoff game was still bad. I mean, he could have been benched. He seriously could have been benched, and I think everybody would have kind of understood. So if you're benched, man, where does that leave you? They didn't do it, obviously, but it was that bad. But I think that CJ Stroud can still, I mean, he's been to the playoffs. He's been past the first round, right? Every year of his career. He's won a playoff game every year of his career. So you can win with CJ Stroud. You can win something at least.
That is true. I mean, I don't. CJ Stroud is. I don't want it to sound like I hate my own selection here, but I do think that if I had to go back and do it, I might have taken Nix, just because I do think he played better football at least last season and has at least shown more growth than Stroud has over his career so far. So, Theo, you have the next pick though.
Yeah, so I've got the Las Vegas Raiders here, who picked Sam Darnold at the back end of the first. So that frees me up to take the first non-quarterback of the second round, and I'm going to go with Jeffrey Simmons from the Tennessee Titans. Look, interior pressure is extremely valuable. I look at the Final Four team standing. I see Christian Barmore, Milton Williams. I see Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk. I see Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy, and I see Zach Allen and John Franklin Myers. Like, the best interior pressure teams were the ones standing at the end. Jeffrey Simmons, he was first among all defensive tackles in sacks, pressures overall, quick pressures. Yeah, he was a beast last year. Like, just a total freak. You could move him all around the line of scrimmage. I saw him get sacks coming off the edge, beating a Texans right tackle around his outside shoulder. I saw him bending around guards and getting strip sacks. I saw him treating double teams in the run game like a conveyor belt, just shedding one guy after the other and getting tackles. He was special last season. He finally like had the type of season that we all knew he was capable of for a long time. And he's still 28 years old, I think. So not quite in a danger zone, I think, of falling off anytime soon. I think it'll be a dominant force over the next few years here. So yeah, he's a 1A defensive lineman to me, and definitely worth taking here in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about guys like Kobe Turner, Christian Barmore's 26 and Turner's 27, which that surprised me. I didn't realize Turner was that old. So yeah, I really do like the Simmons pick here to get a guy that good and not be that much older than some other guys who are also really good. But I think Simmons is kind of in a tier above those guys.
Yeah.
20 what and what?
Turner is 27 and
It kills me you started with Turner there. Theo, I do agree with your pick in general. I think after quarterback, teams would start targeting pretty aggressively. Not that the only thing we care about is position or what they bring, because there's age and there's just how good you think they are. But Jeffrey Simmons is a tier 1 pass rusher. More times than not, you're going to need that type of guy if you really want to go on a run and you really want to go and win a title. So if you feel like you got a quarterback you can win with, getting a guy like Simmons who you feel like can really be the leader of a defense, which he certainly can, is not a bad idea. Now, the next 2 picks are mine, and I'm in an interesting spot here. Easily the weirdest pick of the first round. I'm not saying it's wrong, but the weirdest pick is Matthew Stafford at 29 to the Browns. I kind of feel like we didn't take into account who the teams were and what their front offices were. They're mostly just to put a face to the selection. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But we were sitting here and we were thinking, like, it's like, okay, I don't think the Browns would do this, honestly. But I do think a team would take a shot on Stafford and say, like, screw it, let's go all in, right? So I'm thinking along the lines that you are, Theo. I'm like, okay, we need a top-end pass rusher. And I guess we're at a point where we don't care about age at all if we're burning our first-round pick in this draft on somebody who, realistically, would Stafford continue to play the game if they're like, you have to finish your career out in Cleveland?
Yeah, he would be overjoyed.
He would not. He would not be overjoyed at all. He would be underjoyed even. This is leading up to me saying that I took Chris Jones here with the 204. Jones, I think, is also somebody who for a long time clearly has anchored Super Bowl winning defenses. A lot of it's come down to having Patrick Mahomes, of course, but Jones is a guy you can build the pass rush around to the highest degree. The interior pressure, his ability to win one-on-ones, and the amount of attention that he draws is key. I could hear out the argument that even if you draft Stafford, you don't necessarily need to slant the rest of the team to be like, we're trying to win this very next season entirely, because I feel like you're lining yourself up to be truly horrific and like very, very far off. And maybe you think that there are some other guys who could provide similar pass rushing upside, like a Benito or a Nick Bosa, if you're not so worried about some of his injury history, and wouldn't be like as old as Jones, because Benito's 27, Bosa is 28, and Chris Jones is 31. So maybe I almost overplayed the age here. I'll hear out that argument for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think the fit in terms of this team's timeline and what they should target next and who the most impactful players are outside of quarterbacks left, I do think Jones ends in that category pretty quickly.
Yeah, I love this pick. I think Chris Jones is a little underrated right now. I think his disruption in his tools as a pass rusher, maybe they're not quite at the peak of his powers, but they're still about above any defensive tackle in the league. I think they're right there with Jeffrey Simmons when it comes to disrupting quarterbacks. So
I was inspired by your Simmons selection, quite frankly. So I'm glad that you like it.
And I was weighing Simmons or Chris Jones, because as good as Simmons is, and the age is what set it apart. Like fate of the universe on the line. Martian's got the death beam pointed at Earth. Like, I'm still going with Chris Jones to get a win.
I think the 3 years, I think that's enough where I wouldn't have thought too hard about it personally. I think I value age a little bit more than you guys, though, in the long run.
I feel like I valued age a decent amount. You probably did more so than.
Well, you know, I probably thought really hard about valuing it and then still went with some of the top guys because it's difficult to get yourself to actually do that. There's a balance to be found with it. There's a lot of factors to weigh. And if you didn't catch the first episode, I don't know if we brought this up, we're not taking into account contract at all. Contracts are off the table because otherwise then it turns into like rookie value crap, and that's not really what we're going for here. So
yes,
as much as you can, try to think outside of who is still on a rookie deal and who is not, and who has to get paid soon and all that crap.
Right.
With my next pick, the Jets took Mendoza at 128, so they have the 205 here. And I didn't intend to do it this way, but I'm kind of doing the exact opposite of the last selection. So Stafford's very old, so we give them a very old Chris Jones. Mendoza very young, so we give him a very young Byron Murphy is my next selection.
Murphy the corner was really from the Vikings
last year. The defensive tackle from the Seahawks, believe it or not.
Weird.
Murphy was phenomenal last year. He was an incredibly important part of the Super Bowl winning team, and I would say that the best unit that team had was their defensive line, kind of unquestionably, to be honest. Obviously, Mike McDonald's going to get a lot of credit for everything he did for that defense, and rightfully so. But the men that they had up front, and in particular Murphy, really stick out as driving forces of the title that they've just come into. Murphy is really good both ways. He is unbelievable against the run, taking on double teams, getting down, playing low with strength and leverage and torquing guys out of the way is really, really top tier. But he's also a very good pass rusher. 62 pressures as a year 2 guy, as only 23 years old, is super impressive. And while you might think that some of that stuff is gamed up by the scheme, I think the one-on-one success rate for him is really, really strong. He has an ability to run through you and get inside your pads, but also is quick enough and an elite mover in a way to work around guys, and his hand fighting is already pretty refined. Frankly, he's really good for a 23-year-old defensive tackle, which is a position that you don't always see break out immediately. So when you take into account the fact that I think he's ascending, the fact that defensive tackle is a position that can have a little bit more shelf life, the fact that he's really, really young, and just the fact that I'm kind of high on him, I think Murphy pushing almost into the first round, not quite there, but pushing up higher than you would think, I think it's the way.
I don't know if this would have been my pick for them. I think I would have gone with a different Seahawks defender, maybe Witherspoon as the first Seahawks 101. But I think he does check a lot of the boxes of age, being really good and playing a premium position, at least in your eyes, Matt, of defensive line. And look, I think the 4-2-5 quarters light box nickel scheme is the way to go. It's my preferred. If I was a defensive coordinator, that's what I would try to do. And you need some war daddies up front to play that way. And it solves a lot of issues if you are able to play that way. And that's why Fangio and McDonald have won the last 2 Super Bowls, I think, is because they got space eating nose tackles and double team eating nose tackles. And Byron Murphy certainly qualifies. I think he's a key cog of a schematic meta right now at a young age. So I rock with it. I do rock with it. But
I feel you. Witherspoon is he's the truth, but he plays a position with a shorter shelf life that's less valuable, and he's a couple of years older. Those 3 things combined made a big difference to me. So I feel pretty good about Murphy, and I really do love his upside. And I think this would be pretty good for pick 28. Mendoza, Murphy, it's easy to see what you're building, but you feel like you have time before you really got to make a push. which for some teams is where you might need to be. Not every team can push their chips in the middle year one in this reality, so they're well positioned to not need to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this a lot. I'm with you on the shelf life thing. Interior defensive line and offensive tackle are two that I really feel like I valued that heavily for. They're positions that kind of have the high scarcity as well. And so if you can get one of those top guys that play for a really long time, I feel like that's really valuable. And I feel like that shows up when, we took 3 of them back to back here, on the interior defensive line. So.
Well, it's the combination of pass rushing being the most valuable non-quarterback trait or impact that you can make. And then also you feel decent about pass rusher longevity. And we've already taken all of the tier 1 wide receivers, right? And tackles are super important. I think they're the next step down, but they can have really great longevity too. So I agree. A lot of tackles are going to end up going. And in a real draft, I wonder if more tackles would have gone at this point or would soon go than what we've selected so far.
Yeah, and at the end, I'll go through how many of each position we did end up drafting, so you can visualize that as well. But Theo, you're next on the clock here.
Yeah, I've got the Tennessee Titans who picked Brock Bowers in round 1. And I'm going to dip my toe into the quarterback waters here and select.
I was surprised you went QB. You were the least QB heavy of the 3 of us.
Yeah. I'm taking Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is a risky pick because he has been very limited schematically, but he is a great athlete. And I think that's kind of the thing I grew to appreciate more and more as the year went on, was just how freaky elusive and elastic he is. Now, he might be the farthest thing from a pocket passer we've ever seen from like a good quarterback. The highest percentage of his throws come at 8 miles an hour of like this next gen era. Like it's like 20% or something like that. He's throwing beyond 8 miles an hour. Like his feet are moving. And if his feet are moving, he's burning through pocket space. The field is getting cut in half, all that stuff. But man, when he releases on the move, like it's really good. He can deke you out and tear your star pass rushers ACL, which sucks. And if he's so limited, like why was he so good coming back from deficits this year? I mean, he was as efficient as anybody when he was down and came back from some crazy deficits, like versus the Giants. And there was some luck with that. And maybe you don't want to be living that way. And overall, their offense was more middle of the pack than top tier. He wasn't so good with a lead. So I don't know. There are pros and cons with Bo Nix. And I guess he's kind of this wild card going into next year. Like maybe there is a leash that he is on that you can take him off of and he can blossom. I'm not against that. Or maybe the leash is why they've been winning so many games and he's not a complete disaster. I really don't know. But at some point you got to find out. And at some point, like he's won a lot and he's thrown a lot of he's scored a lot of touchdowns and he's passed for a lot of yards.
Which are all huge.
They're all huge.
Things.
And regardless of the scheme, you're just not going to find that everywhere. And some team would certainly take a chance on him. I really prioritize athleticism. And even though I wish Bo Nix was more confined to the pocket, he didn't burn through that space. I wish he was more intermediate and layered in his like throw selection. I think even though he was an older rookie, there might be some room to grow there. And I am intrigued about his potential next year. I think they could have easily gone to the Super Bowl if he stayed healthy. I think they could have won the Super Bowl if he stayed healthy. And yeah, he's not my favorite quarterback in the entire world. I think he's got limitations and weaknesses that are very clear right now. But I'm also not against the idea that he's ascending, even though he came into the league when he was a little older. I think there's meat on the bone.
Older guys develop too much now to just say it's over for Bo after 2 years when I thought he looked good down the stretch. I agree with a lot of your concerns. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Even if he's getting out of the pocket all the time, at least he's not taking sacks. You can live with that all day. And I think with his age and athleticism, yeah, he's worthy of taking a shot on. And if you're Tennessee right here, if you don't take Nix, you know for sure you will be bad at quarterback. You will be basically like throwing out a true long shot who hasn't shown much of anything or has only played a handful of games. So I think this is a good pick. He was well within my would take in the second round tier.
Yes.
And I even in the back into the first, I don't think it's crazy at all.
Yeah, no, I like this pick a lot too. You made this pick, Theo, and that's when I was like, oh shit, I should have taken Bo because he is a really, really special athlete, like you said, and that kind of foot speed is just, it's very valuable. But I did end up taking a quarterback here with my next pick for New Orleans. And Matt, I hate to do this to you, but I'm giving them Bryce Young. I'm giving them your guy. And Bryce Young, I really do think it started to come around a lot on the real thing that was concerning, I think, initially was just how long it was taking him to get the ball out. And then when he was scrambling, it felt like, you've mentioned this a million times also, it felt like all of his effort has to go into escaping pressure before he can even think about getting his eyes up and trying to find a window to throw into. I feel like he's gotten a lot better at that and getting the ball out quickly. And I think Tet has helped out with that to some degree. But I think Bryce has also taken serious strides. And I feel like he is safely probably my next best quarterback off the board here.
I don't know if I would quite say safely. I understand where you're coming from.
Fair enough.
Well, it's a debate. I mean, Bryce obviously has age on his side, which
age on his side, because you could throw Kyler in this mix as well.
Well, you're taking a shot on him because he's still like young and hopefully ascending. And if you're right, then you could be right for 8 years or something like that, and you don't have to worry about quarterback anymore. But the physical limitations are the physical limitations with Bryce. And while they don't always turn into an issue, and while I agree that his processing has become much better and we're seeing more of that guy who can create in the backfield and keep his eyes up, which I felt like was a superpower at Alabama, there's still a lot of times where he'll get into a pickle and he just doesn't have an answer. And you can still point to like, well, here's where the offensive line screwed up, or here's why the play call wasn't right, or here's why the receivers didn't win enough, right? But true top-end quarterbacks can just find answers in those situations that Bryce can look like he didn't do anything wrong in, but still struggle to like find a solution, or he can still have a bad play in that moment. So I think this is a fine pick. I don't know if he's for sure over like some of the other young guys 100%. And he is yet to lead passing offense that's even reached average success yet in the NFL. Granted, that's not all of his fault. In fact, it's
not.
A lot not of his fault. And I
agree.
agree that he's gotten better. So I think this is within the range that I would consider sensible for Bryce. But you're certainly taking a risk on a guy who also has pretty clearly defined flaws and probably a pretty high ceiling unless he's like a true bizarre one-of-one guy.
Yeah, I personally think you're taking a risk on any quarterback you're taking at this point, though. So you might as well take your favorite one.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts, I think, has real limitations. Brock Purdy, I think, has real limitations, and those guys went round one. I think Bryce Young, you're getting a guy like those. I think he has that kind of ceiling, and those guys have been to Super Bowls. Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl. I don't think Bryce necessarily has to be more flawed than them. I mean, his pressure to sack rate has dropped. He has recaptured at least a little bit of that magic that he had in college that was just non-existent from when he was a rookie.
Right.
And
absolutely.
They love to go empty with him, give him a lot of options, spread the field out. I think he processes that well, plays point guard well. He's just not going to be somebody who's like crazy explosive like the top end guys, but no quarterback you're taking right now is going to be explosive like that because they're already gone. So if you want a quarterback that's capable and you want a quarterback that you think has maybe a little bit more to him, if you can build a better situation around him, I don't mind taking Bryce Young here at all. I think he's a little bit underrated. I don't think statistically, he's pretty trash over the course of his career, which I think makes him a little bit underrated. But the fact is that he is low floor, low ceiling to a certain extent. Sure. And I think you can I think you can get pretty far with a quarterback who's limited if you've got a super team. we'll see if you can build the super team around Bryce Young here in this fantasy draft.
Well, I'm not the only one picking for the Saints. You know, they took Tristan Wirfs on your account, Theo. So maybe he is getting a super team around him. Tristan Wirfs would be the best offensive lineman, probably the best player Bryce Young has played with thus far.
Respect Damian Lewis. No, Tristan Wirfs is better than Damian Lewis, probably.
Probably, yes.
Damian Lewis is a dog, though.
Yes. And then with my next pick, I'm going to take the first, well, not the first corner off the board because Surtain is gone, but I'll take the second corner off the board, and that's Christian Gonzalez. Just pure lockdown. I mean, I was always a big fan of him coming out of college. His athleticism and his technique is as good as it gets in the NFL right now, outside of maybe Surtain. And, you know, we saw him lock up prime Tyreek Hill when it felt like he was torching the league, when it felt like no one could stop him, right? It was like, oh, you had to scheme up this perfect, like, oh, we're gonna press and we're gonna put a guy over top. And it's like, no, just put Gonzo on him. You know, Gonzo was the one guy that you could just run out there and just run man and just have one guy follow him around the whole game. And so having a guy like that to where you feel comfortable, I mean, he locked down Jackson Smith and Jigba in the Super Bowl, you know? So he's very, very good at being able to isolate and really shut off number one receivers. I think that's a huge advantage, even with the potential of the lifespan not being that long.
Yeah, he was huge in the playoffs. They did stick JSN on him, or they stuck him on JSN. And JSN had a quiet Super Bowl at the end of the day. Gonzo had a crazy PBU on Shaheed as well.
Yes.
On that big post. He sealed the Broncos game.
If they had won, he would have been Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, I really think so.
He sealed the Broncos game. He had a huge forced fumble in the Texans game. Like, he had an amazing postseason run. He'll get paid a lot here soon, and he's still young. So I like the pick. I'm going to take a corner for Atlanta as well. This is kind of my appeal to authority team here. Puka Nacua, the schematic centerpiece of the best offense in the league, the Rams. Let me take maybe the schematic centerpiece of the best defense in the league too in Witherspoon here. Not much of a ball hawk, Devin Witherspoon, over the course of his career. I think he only has 2 interceptions in his career or something like that. But man, this guy can play outside linebacker. This guy can play nickel. They got him in worry. He bumped out to the outside, played well there. I think he is the best tackling corner in the league. And that makes him a very good zone cover corner as well, because he closes and doesn't allow any yak. He cycles through routes beautifully, pass off the first guy, get to the second guy, then close on the check down, all kind of in a couple of steps. It's gorgeous to watch. He is a demon flying around out there in a world where kind of rotations are king now, and covering a lot of ground quickly from pre-snap to post-snap is king. I think Witherspoon is a really unique weapon in the secondary that you can send all over the place, and he just can handle any role. He's someone that when he spins and plays safety, he looks comfortable at safety, like in a deep half and a back pedal, something like that. He looks comfortable doing absolutely anything you ask him to do. The game is really slow for him. He's somebody that will hit somebody, they'll slide off of him, and then he'll readjust his whole body and grab their ankle if that's what it takes to bring him down. He's a phenomenal player. 3 Pro Bowls in 3 years, 25 years old. I really value his skill set in this day and age. I think he's kind of a skeleton key for that 4-2-5 quarters nickel defense that kind of runs the league right now. I think he's immensely valuable in that scheme, and that's the scheme I would run. Like I said, with Byron Murphy, both of those guys make that thing go.
Yeah, you also took Hamilton in the first round, Theo, so not shocking here.
I'm a little bit lower on the defensive backs than you guys, but I know good players when I see them. We don't have to lie about the level to which JSN got locked up. It was a Darnold disaster class when throwing to JSN, and he should have had at least 225 or whatever. I don't know what the math would have come out to. So we'll round down.
Round up to 300. Why don't you?
Yeah, well, I was like, conservatively would have gone for 260. So I'm rounding down to 225 as a show of
260,
good arguing faith.
3 or 4 tutties, you know. But
yeah, I look, I get it. Gonzalez is a beast. I think these guys, they're not like the absolute top tier, most valuable position. And I do worry about the longevity, but they're both also pretty young. And to an extent, there's only so much you can worry about longevity with every single pick and every single position.
Right.
And I do ultimately agree with the philosophy that, like, if we're talking about like the second tier of guys, not even necessarily like the true studs and then the guys that we know to be like really star players, but then you get down to the next level, that's when I really start to think like the gap between the best and the second best, or like the gap between dudes there is so short that I really want to start valuing the position and the longevity and that type of stuff more. Higher up, it is more understandable just to take the guys that we think are the best players, but it's a thing to balance. So I don't think these are crazy picks. I'm here at 210. Pittsburgh, they picked Surtain in the first round. First team I've had that has not had a quarterback. I am going Jackson Dart. Had a pretty good rookie season, all things considered. I wasn't the absolute highest on him. Certainly there is a level of risk here when you're taking somebody like Dart, right? Not only with the fact that he had a good rookie season, but not one that just answers every concern you have about him on whether or not he can truly run through like a pro style offense at all times, or the level to which he'll become like a pocket operator, which is a challenge coming from Ole Miss and their RPO system. But also in terms of his ability to stay healthy, right? I mean, he was super banged up and in and out of the blue tent. And I know Giants fans feel a certain way about how much of that stuff really counted. He had some fake blue tents from what I hear, some Mickey Mouse blue tents. One way or the other, certainly somebody who runs himself into traffic as much as Dart does has some injury concerns. But I think that he's a spectacular athlete. He has a really live arm, and the rushing upside is really good for him. I think with a lot of these guys, if they can learn when to pick their spots with the rushing, their mobility can turn into a strength to protect themselves rather than a weakness that gets themselves into trouble. And I thought there was enough tools and enough shown in his rookie season where I kind of expected him to come in and look really far away, like some of these RPO heavy guys can. Dart didn't seem like that at all. He seemed very online with what you would expect with a rookie. So there wasn't like some massive accuracy concern where he just can't get it on target at all. So he's got a lot of different categories that he's got to work in, and there's a risk here, but the upside is very high. I think a team would be willing to take a shot on it. We redrafted him very highly when we redrafted the 2025 draft a little while ago, and I think same here, he would also go pretty high.
I think he would probably go higher than we're taking him. Just based on...
It's possible.
I partly think, I mean, we took a decent number of quarterbacks in the first round. I still think we did kind of undersell it a little bit. I think Dart would have been in that group as well.
I have a new perspective on the quarterback thing that we'll get into when we get to it. I think that we've actually kind of nailed the number of quarterbacks.
Really?
Maybe I'm wrong. I think the balance between the three of us has ended up being okay. Maybe I'm wrong and it would just be like 25 quarterbacks or whatever. But I actually do think there's a line we get to where I'm like, no, I'm not doing the whole quarterback thing anymore.
I don't see why it would be too many quarterbacks, because someone's going to get the 32nd best one. It's just how it has to happen. And why, like at some point, it doesn't become worth it to just sign up to be the 25th or 26th best quarterback team in the first round. And then the second round is going to happen and someone else is going to get some star player when you could have, and they're not going to take a quarterback, right? They're not going to take a backup round two. So you can wait and wait. Once it starts to dry up, you can start to wait and wait, because like, what is the difference between Mac Jones and Shedeur Sanders? Or what is the difference between Mac Jones and Will Levis? Or what is the difference? Like at that point, it doesn't really matter. So it gets to a point where like, you can start to afford to wait and pick. And again, I said this so much in the first episode. How do you counter someone having Patrick Mahomes and you don't? You got to build an NFC ass roster, and you got to have the sickest defense.
Sure.
Picking a quarterback doesn't always get you there. So, like, yeah, if you can get one that you think can become a max contract guy, a guy who substitutes for weaknesses at other positions, like, yeah, grab him. If you think Bo Nix can, I mean, he was their leading rusher down the stretch in the playoffs, right? If he can have that kind of value of being a whole little offensive unit in one guy, like, yeah, or Jackson Dart, I think also kind of applies here because he's such a good rusher.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some guys who have the potential to develop into something pretty special that you still want to take a chance on. And obviously it's not a sure thing in round 2, but I don't think like you're taking a mid to low end quarterback over a Myles Garrett, like, or a Michael Parsons or anything like that.
Well, I agree with those guys, and I don't think we did take any mid to low end quarterbacks over them. It's hard to put an exact number on it because I generally agree. I think there's a point to which you say, like, I'm just not doing this anymore. Like, the upside is really not that crazy. But I also think there are teams that would take some of the more mid-level tier guys that we've talked about over serious good players because, yeah, you know, you see how the Seahawks did it without a star quarterback, but they still had Sam Darnold. You know, they didn't exactly have a total scrub out there. So there's a balance to find with it. I'm up here with 211. The Giants, they took Jalen Hurts in the first round. Spiritually, probably, we talked about this in the first episode, would not go down like that. Hard to imagine Hurts going to the Giants. But I stuck here. I took Colston Loveland. I knew I was going to be the guy to take him, and I knew I was going to take him really high. If you watched the redraft in 2025 or the 2025 redraft, you know that I took him really high. I think he was phenomenal to end the season. I think he is a receiving threat that you can build the passing offense around entirely. I think he can run the full route tree, and for somebody his size, it's really special. His ball skills stick out to me, and on top of that, he's just 22 years old still. Tight end is a position that ages particularly well. It truly would not surprise me if Loveland ends up being a star for another 8 years, another 10 years. Again, I value age a little bit more. Maybe you can say this is just a little bit too much of a projection compared to some of the other guys that are here. And if you're looking at it from a surplus value standpoint, tight ends just don't get paid enough for this to make sense. But to me, a top-end receiving threat is a top-end receiving threat. And I think Loveland down the stretch, again, really proved to be that. I don't think there's anything phony about it. I think there's a real chance he comes out next year and I think he's one of the 3 or 4 best tight ends in the NFL right now.
Yep.
We've talked about it so much already, but yeah, I went Loveland early.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love this pick. You could make the case for Fred Warner. You could make the case for Dex or Benito, right? Those are absolute superstars that will get picked in this draft, of course. But I see the vision with Loveland, especially. One thing that I've looked at is, you know, if a team has a quarterback in the first round, it's like, well, can I surround them with a piece, whether that's an offensive lineman or a pass catcher or, you know, maybe a running back, like, and I think that can be a good way to kind of build it out. It's not necessarily always, we're going to take BPA, although BPA can be a good strategy, especially if that guy is 22 or 23. And I think Loveland could be your BPA if you really have that kind of high value on him. So I love
you certainly have to take into account the age for him to be the best player available here rather than
yes
just straight up, of
really
course. And you have to really buy into who he was in the back, 8 games or so of the year. But I do, so I'm going to take him really high.
Yeah.
That puts it with me for Washington. I didn't take age quite as seriously as you did, Matt. And I just think that, look, if this were to happen and you were to redraft everybody, you'd still be going for the ring in 2027. And that would be the most important ring to go for, would be the next one. Because you can go with guys like Mendoza or Loveland or Byron Murphy with the thought of like, well, eventually, our window's open for 10 years, whereas if you take Myles Garrett, your window might be only open for 3 realistically.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, a lot can happen in 10 years. And if you're not hitting the tippy top of the talent levels when they're young, there's no guarantee they're going to hit the tippy top of the talent levels when they're old either. So are you just signing up to not win a title over a certain amount of time when you could kind of stack the deck in a 3-year window, even in this draft? One of my regrets is not prioritizing like Myles Garrett a little bit more, because he is somebody that really is maybe the best player in the league right now, right? And that's super valuable. I think I wish I went with him maybe as the 101 pick. I picked Justin Jefferson as my first non-quarterback. That could have been Myles Garrett. Certainly, I picked Micah Parsons next because he's a little bit younger, but he's coming off the injury. And those are the things that really slow you down, is when you start getting banged up. Myles Garrett isn't coming off such an injury and is probably a bit of a better player anyway. So I feel like I wish I took Myles Garrett a little bit earlier. And seeing him here with Washington now, I'm like, what an opportunity, because like you can go out there with Jackson Dart if you want and feel good about your quarterback, but if the other team has Myles Garrett and Fred Warner, who I'm going to take right here, you feel like that is the core of as good of a defense as we've ever seen if someone were to pair those two up, Myles Garrett and Fred Warner. And that would really help you in 2027, I think. So I'm going with Fred Warner here, and to be able to put the pressure on the quarterback that Garrett is already giving you. And then Warner is just the ultimate deterrent. Like, you just don't really target him. You don't throw it anywhere near him. Looking through the NFL Pro statistics, like the play action splits of him on the field and off the field are just ridiculous. Like, some linebackers are play action magnets. Like the Packers linebackers, they cannot defend play action. They see the run fake, they're up at the line of scrimmage, those digs, those crossers are free money all day, and it's a great way to beat their defense. With Fred Warner, that kind of all goes away because he's so smart and he's got such range and he's got such hand-eye coordination to bat the ball in the air. And he's got such range that you can align him on line of scrimmage, mess with the pass protection. He feigns blitz, and then he can erase your receiving threat tight end on a corner route because he just gets out there so fast and gets his eyes on the quarterback. So Garrett and Fred Warner, I believe, are force multipliers for each other. Quarterback, I know it's rough. I know we're going to have to find answers, but like, I just don't see a lot of quarterbacks that I feel good winning you a ring right here. And I'd rather, again, stack the deck, stack the roster, get an all-time duo on defense than say, we got Myles Garrett, we're good. Now let's get a quarterback who's limited. I'm going with Fred Warner here.
I see the vision on not going QB, but if part of your criteria is injury, I would be a little nervous about Fred Warner. Like, obviously we were hoping he came back for the playoffs so we could see if he could help San Francisco go on a run, but we really don't know how he would have come back, right? And so that's sort of a question mark as well.
The 3 years before last year, it was 17 games, 17 games, 17 games, 16, 16,
True.
16, 16. And he was about to come back. Like, it's not like a Malik Neighbors situation where we don't know like what it's going to look like game one, if he's going to be out there. Like, he would have been out there if the 49ers made the Super Bowl. So after a full off season, it's not like he's constantly banged up or constantly injured. He was just the best linebacker in the league last year.
He always has
with the best defensive lineman. Like, I just love that combination. We'll see what we could do with quarterback later.
I gotta say, I understand the idea that like a lot of front offices and a lot of football organizations would be like, well, sorry, we're not like trying to game plan long term for 5 years. Like, we just want to be good now. Like, we're just going to do what's good now and we're going to go from there. We're going to take it year by year, right? Because you just can't build up a culture saying like, well, our game plan for the 2030 season, you know, everybody's focused on the current reality.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot of great defenses last year, and the one that won the Super Bowl had a Sam Darnold. The two that didn't, they had a guy and CJ Stroud who fell apart. And, when Bo Nix, another average guy, went down, it completely screwed over the Broncos. So I think trying to control for some of the randomness that can happen year to year by taking guys who give you more shots, they don't even need to necessarily be your best player. But the fact that you get them for years and years and years means you have more and more opportunities to continue to build around them, right? In the next draft or the next free agency. And then with the quarterbacks, again, I'm kind of in between you and Blaiden maybe on this now, but I do think having a guy who can hold their own does have a lot of value in it.
I feel you. And it's a good point with Stidham. I mean, not everybody can just throw in a backup and put up even 17 points, which would have won the Broncos the game, right?
That's why you draft 3 quarterbacks.
Well,
I was thinking about
Stidham
that.
is a ways down my board, though.
That's true.
Like,
that's very true.
I'm not going to be taking Stidham. There's other guys I would have wanted before him, but I just think Garrett and Warner pairing them together is making my mouth water. So I'm going with him.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Fair enough.
I've got 2 picks up next, and it is the Minnesota Vikings and the Indianapolis Colts, 2 teams that did not go quarterback in the first round. Minnesota went Kyle Hamilton, which is a rock star selection. I love that. And I'm going to pair that with Tyler Shuck, who another guy that we'll talk about is very limited, right? And very easy offense, a lot of short game, not really being aggressive, not really testing down the field, but he was very efficient. He did have the accuracy that you want to see. He was getting the ball out. So he's doing a lot of good things. And if the only thing that you're looking for is aggression, I feel like that can be taught. I feel like that's something that you can insert into the offense with Shuck. And you have Hamilton, so you feel like this defense has a very, very good anchor like Garrett. There was a clip that I retweeted of just Kyle Hamilton pass rush cut up, and so I just love Kyle Hamilton, so I don't really feel like I want to necessarily build up the defense too much this early when there's quarterbacks on the board still. Tyler Shuck, I think, is a guy that I feel comfortable building around long term.
Shuck,
and then
he played well, but I agree, like, it wasn't against the greatest defenses, and it was a pretty short stretch, and he's already a little bit older than you think, because remember the whole conversation about him being a rookie. He was within my tier of guys I would take with a serious selection, but he's like teetering on that for sure. But I think he could do well for the Saints next year. Yeah. And I like the idea of we don't want to take any other defenders who would distract from good old Kyle Hamilton, his single-handed game-wrecking ability.
Exactly.
But I know what you mean.
No, you don't need to go that crazy.
You don't want any other good defenders who would maybe take credit away from Kyle Hamilton on Twitter.
Right. Of course. All the defensive highlights should just be Kyle Hamilton, of course. Mm-hmm. But no, I agree it's sort of teetering on the list of guys that you want to take with a high quarterback selection here. But I think we're kind of already on that range.
Yeah.
So
Shuck has great upside, I think.
He does.
He came in and played well overall. His numbers are good. I think he was a bit predictable with where he was going against zone coverage. And I thought he got routes jumped because of it. He always kind of wanted to probe underneath. His success rate versus zone was not good, but he did have a deep ball. I think like double moves to Olave. Like he hit a good amount of stuff deep. And I think it's not necessarily, you got to teach him to be more aggressive. It's just like the game starts to slow down for him a little bit and the field starts to open up and you become more comfortable testing NFL defenders as you get older. Hopefully I think that makes sense. So we'll see if Shuck can, he only played a tiny amount of games last year and made a positive impact, but I think some Saints fans maybe overrate him a little bit. Like, I don't think he's shown that like he is the answer and he is like stamped as the franchise quarterback forever and ever. But it was a good start. It was a good enough start that I think if you go into next year with him, and if you make him a second round pick in a fantasy draft, like I can understand it. I could definitely understand it.
And then Indianapolis, Jamar Chase was the first round pick. We're going to go Kyler Murray here in the second round. Kind of doing the Vikings thing here, just with the different LSU wide receiver, just trying to really unlock the big arm that Kyler has. He's really good at getting the ball down the field. He's had some injury issues over the years, and he's maybe taken a step back late into his career. But if he still has the arm, I mean, we saw Russell Wilson hang on to his deep ball for quite a while, even when he was still kind of washed. And I think Kyler Murray still has more upside than Russ did as a mover. So I feel pretty good about taking him here in the second.
Oh, yeah. Kyler Murray's still good. I just think he gets hurt like too much. I think that the 9 weeks that the Vikings have Kyler Murray are going to be very electric. And I think he played well at the beginning of last season. I know they lost to the Titans, but there were some freak show scenes like DeMarcado dropping the ball before the end zone. And
that was a classic.
And there was like that fumble that got kicked around and the Titans scored on like a crazy bounce. Yes. I think Kyler played well in that game, but he lost to the Titans, and that's the last thing we remember. He plays with touch. He plays with elusiveness in the pocket. Mm-hmm. He's got more nuance to him than the really bad quarterbacks across the league. And I think he's a legitimate starter that maybe I should have taken earlier if I have this opinion on him. But we just have never seen him healthy through a playoff run, right. which is why he limits your Super Bowl upside, and why he's cut, and why, you know, the Cardinals, I think, would ever part with him is like, is it ever actually going to happen with Kyler Murray?
Right. Yep. That's the one reason where you're like, I might rather be out there, because I feel like I am out there every year in the back half of the season anyway. So at least let me test the waters a little bit. But Theo, you're back on the clock here.
With Dallas. Again, I'm going to bypass quarterback to take a real star here. JSN was their first round pick, and then I'm going to take Dexter Lawrence, who was traded for the 10th overall pick in the draft. Like, that's how high of an opinion the NFL has on him. So to make him a second round pick here feels like it could be a good deal, because this is a really unique defender who can create crazy havoc from that nose tackle spot through double teams like basically nobody else. He doesn't create as much pressure the last 2 years as he did the previous two. Like, it's no longer in this all-time good range. I think he had like 130 pressures or something like that, 22 and 23. And then it's more like 80, 24 and 25. But that coincides with them trading Leonard Williams. I wonder if that has something to do with it. If the two defensive tackles together just created a little bit, like, you can't double team them both. I wonder if that hurt him a little bit. I think he's gotten a little bit slower, which is scary because he's still extremely explosive for such a big guy. And when he gets pressure, it just doesn't look like anybody else in the league. Like, there are flashes where it's like, this is the most impactful defender along with Myles Garrett, like, that you can have, because he's right over the center and he just bull rushed him and the center had no chance, and he's in the backfield in a second. Yeah. So I think he's a defensive centerpiece. Obviously, you need a lot around him, but with JSN and Dexter Lawrence, that's the beginnings of a super team that maybe later we can find a quarterback to just be along for the ride. And you could go with Kyler Murray, you could go with Tyler Shuck, but it's at the expense of a great supporting cast. And they're
gone.
You could look at, we did this pre-draft. You're about to make a pick, Blaiden, that I was like, maybe that's a caliber of quarterback that maybe I should have gone with. But at the end of the day, I didn't. And we're building a super team in Dallas. We're building a super team, so you're gonna have to live with it. He's killed Dallas in the past too, so they should know.
Theo, you're trying to build a lot of super teams here.
Yeah, and you keep ruining them by picking.
By picking quarterbacks.
You keep ruining my super teams.
You're gonna be out here with Jacoby Brissett, big dog, and it's gonna be
and we're fine.
No, Matt, you've got back-to-back picks here.
I do have back-to-back picks here. This is when I start to get into a tier of tackle that I probably would have taken a little bit earlier had they not all had kind of bizarro injury issues, right? Otherwise, I think they probably go closer. They go over like a Colston Loveland, right? But I've got Rashawn Slater here for Cincinnati. They picked Micah Parsons first, 216. They go Slater. When he plays, he's one of the best tackles in the NFL, point blank, period. He's only 27 years old. It's a position that can have really good longevity. So you could easily get another 6-8 years of super high end play, right? From a really, really important position from a guy who I think is totally proven to be like a lockdown tackle. We took his teammate Joe Alt in the first round because of age. So I think Slater here, just considering those factors, would go pretty high. And then Jacksonville at 217, they took Sewell. So I didn't want to double up on tackle, even though there are a couple of other guys, and we'll get into them shortly, that I would consider relatively in this same tier. But I ended up going Nick Benito. To me, he's coming off one of his best seasons. He has the combination of speed off the edge and fluidness to be a real threat. The type of pass rusher he is not only generates pressures, but quick pressures. I think he had like 48 last year or something. That's what NFL Pro had him charted at, which is one of the highest numbers in the NFL. So getting a guy you can build your pass rush around would be really, really important, really high up on my list. And he's also just turned 27, so you feel like he could have a decent lifespan too.
Yeah, you said you didn't want to double up on tackles, Matt. I've got the Chicago Bears here who picked Joe Alt, and I was looking at that like, what if someone committed to just building the best offensive line?
Maybe there's not a real point in purposefully avoiding it. That's fair.
I don't know about this pick. I'm picking Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas, when he plays, is a monster. Like long arms, crazy explosive, crazy hips. He can absorb and reshape through contact to stifle bull rushes. He can also flip his hips and push you up the arc, so that speed rush just like doesn't really work on him. He's so explosive and his hips are so good. Like speed rush doesn't really work on him, and he can anchor, and he's a great run defender. Like it is a night and day difference for the Giants when he's on the field versus when he's off. The problem is he's off the field too often, and he's one of those guys that deals with foot injuries. I mean, he's so big, so explosive. It's a lot on your lower body, and it's weight on Andrew Thomas. So this was a pick maybe I have some buyer's remorse on now, but Joe Alt and Andrew Thomas, I mean, these are Andrew Thomas going into his age 27 season, Joe Alt going into his, I think, age 24, 25 season, 23.
The upside is a legendary tackle duo for a long time. The upside
is a legendary tackle duo like Lane Johnson and Mulata. I mean, I think about the Eagles and where they've been. They were in the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, and then they've been in the Super Bowl twice with Jalen Hurts, and they've won them. And what has kind of been that common denominator through all those runs, it's been the tackle duo, and it's been, offensive line play and run game and things like that. So I'm going with the Twin Towers build here. And they're banged up young tackles, and maybe they both get hurt, and maybe the Bears burn to the ground. And would that really be so bad? But man, it's like you said, it's a position with a lot of longevity. And if Alton Andrew Thomas can play 14, 15 games a year for the next decade, even, we got lots of opportunities to get quarterbacks in those years, and they'll be protected. So I went with Andrew Thomas. I thought that was kind of a fun build for a team to have tackles of this caliber in the left and right side.
I think it's certainly fun.
I totally agree about when he's playing and when he's not for the Giants. And just like a number of these guys are really special athletes who can deal with pass rushers in ways that not everybody can. And it's why you see in draft, coverage, the athleticism and the size of these tackles get valued so much. So he was very much in range. The moment I was like, okay, let's start doing these tackles who either have like a patellar tendon torn or have foot injuries that are knocking them out of games, I'm like, screw it, because otherwise, if it wasn't for that, they would probably be going close to the first round, if not in the back end of the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Theo,
there's already a bit of a discount.
You mentioned that I'm taking a quarterback here that you kind of wish you had taken. Is this what's given you buyer remorses, Malik Willis?
No, it's actually the next one. I'm not quite sure why you took him in this
shocks
order.
me. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I guess so my next two picks are for Tampa Bay and Houston. Because they did not get quarterbacks in the first round. Tampa Bay took Justin Jefferson. Houston took Will Anderson. And I took Malik Willis for Tampa Bay, and I took Baker Mayfield for Houston. But I guess I could have just given Tampa Baker Mayfield back. You know, that might have been the kind of
why
thing
Malik
to do.
over Baker, Blaiden?
Well, Malik is the super high end outcome, right? He was drafted as this pure project, very, very special runner, and he has like a pretty big arm, but it's like it felt like really all over the place, and it kind of started to look dialed in a little bit in the small sample size of games that we saw him play. And now he's gotten a decently sizable contract in Miami on the hope that he can be this reeled in version of this high end outcome that he was projected to be or hoped to be. There's a reason that he was getting sort of these first round mocks coming out because of the high end athleticism and what people thought he could be as a prospect. So that's why I'm taking him over Baker, because Baker does have his issues, and like he's a little bit older at this point. He's not
a lot older.
He's not ancient.
Baker was my number one borderline guy in terms of is it worth it to take this guy in the second round. Actually, he falls into the category again of like mid-tier quarterbacks who are a lot of times just reflective of their situation more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also like the most gamery and the oldest, I would say, or at least up there in both of those categories.
Goff's older than him, but it's
Goff is so unreliant on his ability to like move around though that I feel like his lifespan can be longer. And also I think I have Goff just a little bit higher than Baker, frankly. So Baker is a little bit lower in that tier for me, and he's also 31. I almost don't even dislike Willis above him. I think it's probably a little bit too far, but I see your vision on it where it's like, if we're going to do the quarterback thing, why don't we really just take a chance at it for like the upside to be somebody who can create with their legs and who can be a threat in that sense. I probably still would have gone Baker over Willis personally. I like Willis, but I'm going to start hedging because I understand the situation that he's walking into here in Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, like sometimes you got to, you can be right about this and we may never know. You know what I'm saying? Like
my process could be right.
Imagine if Baker never got a chance after Carolina, right? Like that could, there's a world where that's Willis or something like that.
Sure.
Or who knows what'll happen. But I probably would have gone Baker first, but I see what you're going for.
Yeah, I definitely would have gone Baker first.
I mean, in the very least, to give Tampa just their guy back in this
Tampa,
a random
first
hypothetical.
Of all, Tampa likes Baker. They all love Baker, and I know because I said they shouldn't give him $50 million, and all the Tampa fans are saying we would be dog shit without Baker Mayfield. We would be nothing. But we would be a husk of a franchise without Baker.
I understand your sentiment, but also I would trade everything I would trade everything for the Browns to have Baker Mayfield back, and I would gladly pay him $50 million. I would give up the last 4 years of Myles Garrett to pay Baker Mayfield $50 million.
You really shouldn't do that. Yeah. If you love Baker so much, you'd like Willis more than him. Baker.
It's not that I love Baker so much, but dude, the Browns traded away Baker.
You would give away
got rid of Baker, and they had the worst.
10 snaps and Malik Willis.
It's not that I love Baker that much, but I would give my life to have him play one more game in a Cleveland Browns jersey.
It's better
That's all.
Dude, we went from Baker Mayfield to the worst quarterback in the league by a lot.
Yeah,
$50 million bucks. I don't know.
Basically, what did we give Watson? You know?
Yeah, it didn't work. I mean, paying Josh Allen $50 million hardly works, and you want to give it to Baker Mayfield? Like, it's not a good idea. But Malik Willis over Baker, like I'm taking the proven commodity that Baker is. I mean, he's led good offenses. He's put a lot of numbers on the board. He's been to the playoffs as a full-time starter. Malik Willis came in to a simplified offense, hit some nice throws and then hurt his shoulder. Like, and it had to be Clayton tuned for the last game of the season. Like,
Sure.
We have no idea if Willis can stay healthy. We have no idea if Willis can operate an offense that's fully schemed out. Like, Malik Willis could be horrible as a starter. He could be absolutely horrible next year.
It's
and
Miami.
They could go winless. They could go winless. Baker Mayfield, you're not going winless. I know that. Like, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
He's getting lucky at least one game.
He's getting lucky at least once. He is having some quirked up moments. And he has the highest playoff passer rating of all time as it stands right now. Do I care? Not really, but it's better than what Malik Willis has done.
That doesn't even sound like a real. That doesn't even sound real.
I mean, Baker definitely is. He's probably the most fun player. I don't know. Purdy's up there in the mid tier.
Mm-hmm.
He's very, very volatile. I agree. But yeah, you're probably right. Baker should go ahead. And this is probably pretty high for Willis. As toolsy as he is,
we could swap him.
Basically nothing.
Yeah, I could. No, you could.
You've set it in stone. Houston's going to sell a lot of Baker jerseys.
Houston's going to sell. Everywhere that gets Baker, I feel like loves him, you know?
Oh, yeah. Baker's an easy guy to love. But anyway, it's me on the clock here with Denver. Who did I take?
Yes. I don't know.
I took Bijan Robinson here, the first running back off the board. It's my wet dream to pair Jaden Daniels with like a good running back. And I just think that's, again, a force multiplier. Those two together, I understand running back. Oh, the shelf life. Ashton Jetty didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, we'd rather have any other position but running back, Look, Bijan Robinson has had 1,000 yards after contact each of the last 2 years. That's 1,000 yards other running backs might not get after contact. I don't know. I think this is a great player to be getting at the 221. And I think him and Jaden Daniels together just breaks the defense that you would want to play. Like, you need an extra guy in the box. I was looking at the top single high rates in the league, and it's like Baltimore, it's Buffalo, it's Washington, it's who else is it? It's the Bears. It's all quarterbacks with designed rushing threat. And if you can get single high presentation pre-snap, that opens up your receivers so much, that opens up every route, because like the defense is more static, and that is worth its weight in gold in a world where rotations and all sorts of craziness are happening. Having a running back that actually demands an extra body in the box just makes your life easier. It makes your reads easier. It makes your offensive scheme easier. So Bijan Robinson, under 25 years old, still really electric player, this scrimmage yards leader. I think it's well past time that you can take a running back, because I do think that they are valuable.
I don't know if it's
they're valuable too.
Time.
I worry about the longevity and the positional value, and I wonder who who are we opening
This
up?
is rage, Matt.
Who are we? This is not rage.
Oh no. We're getting to my least favorite
pull that
pick
out
in the
when I
draft.
start to very calmly disagree with you. I'm damn near about to.
This is rage. This is rage. Just say it to yourself, man. I know you're seething.
Dude, stop. No, I mean, look, Bijan's such a demon. I'm not that mad at it, but I don't know, man. There's guys I would have easily picked.
Yeah,
easily picked above
like
Bijan.
Who?
Still.
Like, who are you taking over Bijan?
Like the next two guys that he picked, probably.
That's a great question.
Oh yeah, that's probably a good way to introduce them. Who did you pick?
Would I have taken?
England?
Well, for New England, who has Trevor Lawrence, I picked Christian Darrisaw, the third and final of that tier of tackle that were injured. He came back last year and then played some, and it was still bothering. And then he sat again. When he's playing at his best, though, I mean, again, he's one of the premier tackles for the entirety of the NFL, and he's just about the same age as Thomas and Slater. I mean, the evaluation there is pretty simple. He's really effective at a really important position, and he's a good solid age.
Yep.
And
His
having a
injury
tackle like that.
His injury 2 years ago, basically completely derailed Minnesota's season.
Well, that and something else, but yeah. No,
You're taking a tackle that's never played a full season over Bijan. I guess I took Andrew Thomas above
You took
Bijan.
Andrew
So maybe I'm
Thomas.
also doing that. But
well, the thing is that like I was just, it was really tough to wait how far that this tier of guy should fall, right?
Yeah.
Because I think they're all really effective when they're in, but I just think it can be difficult with their injury history. But if they overcome it, they're monsters. And again, if you told me that they would play a relatively healthy career, I think they'd be pushing into the first round.
Yeah. And also with Bijan, I took him because Jaden is already there, and having those two combined in the backfield, I feel like is more dangerous than Bijan kind of by himself and just running, normal stuff downhill without a major quarterback rush threat. So there was a bit of a scheme based on who went in round one fit that I considered as well. But Darisaw, he had that big famous game against Nick Bosa. I'll never forget it. He's good when he's healthy. And then who'd you take for my Packers?
For Green Bay, well, we got Cam Ward here, who's taken with the 10th overall pick. So we're here at 223, and I'm kind of through those tackles that I really rate like that. And I'm thinking, okay, we've got Ward. He's a little bit of a question mark still. He's a lot of bit of a question mark still, as much as I believe in him. I would love to get him some help. And I think that I can pretty easily do that. I went Drake London, right? Youngest of my... This is rage. Drake London was the youngest in my tier 2. He's also got a lot of experience being like the number one. I think the smoothness in his route running, his ability to accelerate quickly and decel quickly, make him tough to stick with. While I also think his size and overall ball skills and ability to catch it, but still keep it, like on the edge of his frame, make him really effective as just like an easy target guy who can be someone where you're putting it up no matter what and just hoping he comes down with it, which is something that I feel like Ward running around would probably really appreciate. So he's kind of the best of both worlds. I think I had him just below George Pickens in the wide receiver rankings. Pickens was also very much in consideration, but London was like half a year younger. So I said, and all those guys are pretty close for me.
And Cam Ward and George Pickens just wouldn't get along. I feel like, Cam Ward's a very like chillax guy, and Pickens.
I'm going to take your word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea. That's fan fiction to me.
It is fan fiction. I know. I love this pick though. Cam Ward and Drake London. Talk about wet dreams, Theo. Yeah, this is perfect.
My Packers in Kirk's image. They Kirkified my Packers, bro. I'm up next with the 49ers who picked Pookie Jordan Love in the first round. I'm going with Max Crosby here. Obviously, kind of hitting an age threshold that makes you think like he doesn't have this 10-year window, but he's out there every snap still. I mean, as long as he's healthy, crazy run defender, still a high-end pass rusher. Did get traded for 2 first-round picks before something happened, and maybe that knee accelerates even his downfall, which is a nervousness. But I think that he's one of the best defenders in the league, and at the back end of the round 2, like I said, I'm thinking more in like a 3-year window than a 10-year window. I'm trying to hoist that Lombardi as soon as possible, and I think Max Crosby helps you do that. So I picked Max Crosby.
I don't know. I think this might be a hair high, considering he's already kind of showing a little bit of a decline, and he's going to be 29 next year. I don't think it's crazy because, again, the tier 1 pass rushers and whatnot are super important. But I thought he was going to be more of a round 3 guy.
I think
fair enough. We got to get through it, so I'm not going to I'm not going to disagree with you.
Sweet.
I've got the next 2 picks here. Dak Prescott was taken in round 1 for Detroit, and I'm going to pair him with a defensive player of my own, Sauce Gardner. Still one of the best corners in football, still very locked down, great trail technique. There's a reason why he didn't give up a touchdown for like a billion years. He's just that guy. And then I follow that up. The Chargers took Joe Burrow to be the new not his fault guy. And we're going to give him a good defensive player as well. And Quinyon Mitchell, another really, really young corner who has come on and been pretty locked down already. Very, very good as a rookie. has struggled with ball skills, bringing in interceptions. It's one thing that Darius Slay makes fun of him for, that apparently the whole team makes fun of him for, is that he can't catch, and that whenever he gets an interception, everyone gets super stoked because they're surprised that he caught it. But he's able to stick with just about anyone in the league. Athleticism is as good as it gets. Hip fluidity and T-step and quick twitch to fly downhill and make plays underneath as well. He's got it all. Theo, you're muted, but I'm sure you're Midnight City Theo Ash.
Sorry. I love both of these picks. Like young lockdown corners that you can trust on wide receiver ones. Like, it doesn't get much better than that, I think. This is another part of the draft where I look at what you guys are doing, like, man, maybe I should have done that. Like that.
It's really, really hard, honestly.
It is. Because you have to think about every player in the NFL, like, all at once.
Well, especially since we do this over the course of like 48 hours. So by the time you make your first pick and by the time you make your last pick, you've been like influenced by the other two dudes drafting. We're like, maybe they're onto something or whatever.
Does this happen in the real NFL draft?
That's what I was wondering. Like, do you think sometimes they're like, dang, that just looks good out when you look at it on paper? Like, that just looks. It just looks pretty good. Maybe we should grab that position.
I would love to see, like, they do the big
the tight ends. It seemingly did. Like with they're like, Parkisher, man, that really like.
That just, hey, they know ball then.
Looks good on paper, man.
I hope Parkisher kills, dude. That'd be so sweet.
I want to see like when they do the big grades of all the NFL front offices. I want to see big grades of how everyone feels about each NFL team's draft around the league. I think that would be interesting. It would have to be like as anonymous as can possibly be, but I think that would be very, very funny to see how players, coaches, maybe executives graded each other's drafts. But Theo, you're up next.
I'm running back my Jaden Daniels, Bijan Robinson backfield with Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley here. Saquon Barkley, everybody wants to moan and complain and bitch about how washed he is, but bro won Philly a Super Bowl, basically. He had like the greatest running back season ever. I don't know if y'all remember it.
He did not have the greatest running. He had a really great running back season, not the greatest ever.
And I still really liked what I saw from on tape from him in 2025. I ranked him as the number one running back in the league still. I think Bijan's really, really good, but I think Saquon Barkley is even more varied with how he solves problems. I think that there's more scheme. I think Bijan Robinson could run any scheme, not just wide zone, one cut gut things, but and Bijan started breaking off longer runs and hit top speed more last year, but still I think Saquon still does such a good job getting north and south and just shifting his shoulders and keep running forward, and just guys slide off of him. They buck off his back. He'll elevate in really creative ways. Obviously, the hurdle last year is such a big deal, but man, there's just nothing off the table when you're one-on-one with Saquon Barkley. He'll spin you, he'll truck you, he'll stiff arm you, he'll hurdle you, he'll just find a way to make you miss. I still think he's the peak of elusiveness at the running back position. I think he's a good receiver. And I think with him and Lamar Jackson, you might be signing up for 6, maybe even 7 yards a carry. And I think that kind of run game can get you a long way. I think it can break defenses in really unique ways. I think both Saquon and Derrick Henry, were undervalued in that free agent cycle, and then ended up in situations where, that quarterback can deal a gap, and it flipped the league like completely on its head. And I just want to keep that going. I want to pair these elite mobile quarterbacks with elite running backs and see who can stop us, because I think that just has so much gravity.
I think this is crazy for the record.
Yes,
I have to say.
Saquon Barkley, last time there was an NFL top 100, Saquon Barkley was the best player in the league, ranked number 1 best player in the league.
Yeah, but they're not taking into account positional value or the fact that he's 20. He's going to be 30 by the next Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he's a running back, man. And like, I still rank them really highly. And honestly, I think I should maybe put him a little bit lower in the running back ranking, depending on how much you weight
I
how
don't
he
think
looked
so.
last year. But
I think
like,
he looked really good last year. Like
I think
the line was soup.
I think you've got to be like, think just this year, man, because running backs can fall off like that, dude. They can fall off instantly, and they do more times than not, more times than gradually decline or stay at like a good rate for a long time and then sort of go away. I just think Saquon is way too old, especially considering that like you've got options like a Gibbs or somebody who is significantly younger. Or, I mean, I'll tell you this, in a vacuum, I think 32 teams out of 32 teams are taking Jeremiah Love over Saquon Barkley for the rest of their careers. And I don't even think it's close.
Yep. I completely agree. Jeremiah Love, Genty, you mentioned Gibbs. I would throw Achane in that mix. If you wanted to take a running back here to have that same like Jaden Daniels, Gibbs or Jaden Daniels, Robinson effect. Like I get your vision here, but like, yeah, Saquon's going to be 30. It feels like a risk that I'm not willing.
Well, he's going to be 29. He's going into his age. This last year was his age 28 season, and this is age 29 season. And
and he's coming off
everybody's
a down
traumatized.
Year.
He's coming off a down year. I understand it, but the year before he was number one. He is number one best player in the league, and that's the thing that I think you guys are underrating. Is like, look, I understand it's a running back, and it feels like they can't possibly be the best player in the league, but I don't know, man. He showed up, and the Eagles hit a completely different level, and they got over the hump. And
it doesn't mean that it has to be him for Baltimore or for Lamar.
And I'm not totally sure that running back. For everything that's said about running backs and Ashton Genty and how he didn't have any effect on Las Vegas, like what about Saquon? What about Saquon? And you know who might be the most valuable player on the field at all times? Who's the most valuable player on a basketball court, like in the middle of a play? Who is the most valuable guy? Probably the guy with the ball. And I think and who is the most valuable quarter position in football? It's the quarterback. Why? Because they have the most control of the football. And then who is the most valuable of the quarterbacks? Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. What do? They control the football. They hold the football. They have more of an impact on the game because they're holding the football longer than any other player in the league. Like those three guys are holding the football. They have the onus to make a play for just a more amount of seconds than anybody else. And that's why they're paid the most, I think. Who holds the football the most after quarterbacks? It's running backs. And then it's wide receivers. And like, I might just want a sick ass skill position room above anything else. Like, I think that can get you a long way because those are the guys who can advance the football and actually score. And if Saquon Barkley is the best player in the league or one of them as a ball carrier, I think it is very valuable. And yes, it's not that they're a run offense by themselves. And yes, in the past, I think teams have taken this mentality too far, giving Walter Payton 400 carries and never passing the ball ever. Like, yeah, that was probably not an optimal way to do things. But I don't know if they were like completely barking up the wrong tree of, look, this is a guy we can just hand the football to and he can get yards. And so, yeah, I'm sticking with Saquon. And yeah, I think Jeremiah Love would be a valid guy to pick as well. But
my disagreement doesn't even come from your value argument. It's purely just that Saquon is not the guy that I would take here. It's like
I disagree with it both ways for the
and that's fine. Yeah, like I'm gonna be the Bendu, the one in the middle. All right. I
agree. The easier way is like, I mean, look, I know Derrick Henry has ended up being really good in his age 31 season.
Yes.
And he deserves a lot of credit for that. But there are only a handful of guys who are that good that late in their career. Maybe Saquon is one of them, maybe. But is the gap between him and these other guys where you don't have to bank on that, where you could have 6 years of them being great running backs worth it? I don't think so. And even then, I have a hard time with the running back value stuff. I agree that they are more valuable than they were let on like 4 years ago. And I think that in the regular draft, we know good running backs more than almost any other position. We hit on top guys we've taken recently so well as a draft community, right? Like we say a guy's good, we take him in the top 10. Odds are he's like first team all pro, really, truly. But does that mean that they're like so valuable that they single-handedly flip everything? Because yeah, Saquon had a great season, but he was in a great situation. And now he's coming off a bad season where he was in a very bad situation, right? Drake London is somebody I would also consider like not really in a very good situation whatsoever last season. And he was still in line for a very efficient 1,500 yards before he got banged up. He would have had one of the best seasons of any receiver. Whereas Saquon in a comparable rushing situation could not pull off a similar feat, in my opinion. So I see your vision, especially with like the pairing a rushing quarterback up with these great running backs. I agree. There's a multiplier there for sure, but I think this is too high for running backs. And I think Saquon would probably go pretty late among the running backs because of his age.
Yeah. I could see Jeremiah Love being the pick here for sure. I 100% think that is a valid critique of this pick and how it would probably go. And I could be convinced to changing it for sure. But I mean, you said 1,500 yards, Drake London having that type of season. You don't think Saquon could do something comparable? I mean, he had a 1,600 yard season 2022 in New York, and they weren't like some great team. Then he was 1,200 his last year in New York, 2,000 his first year in New York, 1,400 his second year in New York. It's not like any of those Giants teams were like great, but that's the kind of yardage.
I don't think, sure, total yards is probably not the best way to do it. Total yards is a little bit more reflective of a wide receiver's value because they have to go and earn getting targeted with the ball a little bit more than like a running back can just get handed the ball a bunch of times.
Especially if your quarterback is bad, you're just more.
Yeah, it kind of depends. I'm not saying that Saquon isn't good or hasn't been really valuable or didn't matter a ton to that Eagles team. He did. And look, their run game got better. They lost Jason Kelsey, a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the great centers of all time. And they added Saquon, and the run game, I think, was more efficient. And then I think it affected the way that defenses had to play them more. I don't disagree with a lot of that. But there is also real risk that, like, if Saquon continues to decline next year, which is 28's the cutoff, like, it's not surprising. I mean, it could be a really brutal pick early, whereas I just think there's a lot of guys on the board you don't have to worry about any of that type of stuff with.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. I absolutely feel you there.
Matt, who would you have taken instead?
Who would I have taken instead with my next pick? What did I take? Oh, I took Nick Bosa. So Nick Bosa, he's a little risky, right? He's had, I think, 3 season-ending injuries since 2018, his final year at Ohio State, or maybe he sat out towards the end of 2018, but missed a lot of that year, and he's had 2 in the NFL. But when he plays, he is still one of those triple threat guys where he can run through you, he can run around you, and then he's got the flexibility to have an inside-out game. It makes him somebody I still think you can build your pass rush around. And this late, man, it's tempting to just be like, I've got Justin Herbert, I've got my top 5 quarterback for Seattle, and now I've got the guy I can build the pass rush around. Like, I got a chance to go right off the bat. So I went with Bosa there at 228, and then for Philadelphia, they have Josh Allen. I went George Pickens, another one of my tier 2 wide receivers. Really, really easy to imagine him and Josh Allen playing super well together. Pickens is such a beast, dude. He's such a crazy athlete. We talked about him a lot in the last episode, but for as good as Allen is, and for the level that, maybe you get a quarterback and you hope that if they're one of the best ones, they can kind of single-handedly be a passing attack in their own right. And you don't want to have to spend your next piece of, capital on another guy for the passing game. It's also easy to say, like, we've seen all of these top guys get let down by their wide receivers at one point or another, right? And if I start off with Allen and Pickens, I've got a prime MVP level quarterback with a surefire number 1 wide receiver, it feels like, after a great season last year, who should be high level for the rest of that quarterback's prime.
Yes.
That is a really, really good place to start a passing offense that should then probably be top 5, frankly. That would be your hope, right? Of course, there's a lot of other factors. but you would hope to have one of the great passing offenses, and then you could build the rest of the team around having already, I think, the most important facet of the game locked down. So that's what I did.
It's really so beautiful to begin your career at age 21 compared to like 24, because Pickens is going into his age 25 season and he should be like 27 or 28 or something like that. No, it's really tempting every time I make a pick with an established round one quarterback to just be like, what if I got a receiver for him and we'll just put up video game numbers? What if I got a receiver for him and I'm like, Max Crosby and Saquon and da. These guys are all Bijan Robinson. Like, these guys are all maybe a little bit better than the best receiver left, but it really is tempting to be like, what if we paired Justin Herbert with blank? What if we paid Josh Allen with blank? And I'm glad that Josh Allen gets George Pickens here, because it really would be video game numbers, I think.
It would be cinema. That's you, Theo.
Oh, it's me. Yes, with the old Baltimore Ravens, I picked. Who did I pick? I picked Derek Stingley. A bit of a steal considering where the other corners went. I mean, I was really heavily considering him or Witherspoon with the Atlanta pick all those years ago. Went with Witherspoon just because he's so consistent and such a good tackler. I think Stingley is a bit feast or famine as a corner. I still think that about him. I remember that route that DK Metcalf dropped in the playoffs where Stingley really got nosy inside and DK broke it out and was like wide open. Booty got open deep on him and they scored a touchdown, obviously out of great throwing catch. Like, Stingley is still prone, I think, to allow some yardage, but nobody's got this guy's ball skills and just sheer audacity to like leave his zone and go make a play and go jump something. And at the end of the day, turnovers are what win games for you. Like, winning that turnover battle is the number one thing that you can have. And for a lot of these corners like Sauce and Quinion and Witherspoon, like, they're just not winning you that turnover battle. Like, yeah, they might lock down a number one. Yeah, they might be a little bit more consistent than Derek Stingley, but Derek Stingley is somebody with, 5 interceptions in 2023, 5 interceptions in 2024, 4 interceptions in 2025, plus a couple of playoff picks, two in 2024. Like, other guys just aren't giving you that level of ball skills, and eventually he becomes a really good pick. So I'm picking him.
Yeah, I mean, probably the best ball skills of any corner. He's really, really special. Yeah, I think this is pretty solid value. I thought about him earlier as well, but the inconsistency in coverage at times is why I kept passing on him. So I've got the final 2 picks here in the second round, and for the Buffalo Bills, they took Patrick Mahomes in the first. I'm going to give him Brian Branch in the second here. Similar reasons for why Kyle Hamilton and why Devin Witherspoon went as early as they did. Just an absolute chess piece, really. He can do so much for you. He's versatile in coverage. He's a violent tackler. Just really, really, really hard to game plan around as an offense. He's really unlocked a lot for this Lions defense in a similar way that the Ravens have been able to with Kyle Hamilton. He's a bit smaller, so not quite as insanely impactful, and Hamilton's a uniquely special pass rusher as well. But Branch is still super dynamic, super versatile, and can really slot in a lot of different places for this now Buffalo defense.
Yeah, he's somebody that gets a lot of impact on the ball. Like, 38 passes defensed in 3 years is really good. Didn't have any picks last year, but 3 and 4 the year before that. A lot like Witherspoon. I mean, he can cover you. He can play in the box. He is an amazing tackler. Just somebody that can lock down your back and make it hard for quarterbacks to decipher and make you not trust your vision. And he could tackle running backs and prevent big plays. I like it. He is coming off a torn ACL, though. That is a thing with him. But he's one of the best safeties. I'm working on a top 10 safeties video for TikTok right now. I'm not quite done finalizing my rankings and going through all the film, but Branch could very easily be number 2, and he's 25 years old.
Right.
Not the sexiest pick in the world with the injury, but I do think that, you know, we're off the board. Some of these position groups are like, oh, we're taking edge 8 at this point, or edge 7, or quarterback 15, or wide receiver 10, and you might be getting safety 2 here. I think that's decent value. I think that's a decent trade-off.
Yep, that's kind of how I look at it. Is you're looking at the best or second best players at positions versus the 10th or 20th. I think it's a pretty big gap at that point. And then with the last pick in the second round, I'll take for the LA Rams, who got Drake May in the first with the number 1 overall pick. I'm taking Jordan Mailata, just the biggest, most athletic tackle, or one of them that you'll have, and really versatile. Can kind of slot him. You can slot him inside, you can slot him outside because of his athleticism. So I think this gives you a lot of flexibility going forward for this offensive line.
Yeah, I will say the whole thing behind May at 1 is age. I wonder if they would go somebody who's a little bit younger even.
Also,
that was my thought for this team specifically, but I think this is probably around appropriate value.
So I believe that wraps up. Not I believe.
It definitely wraps up round 2.
It definitely wraps up round 2.
We don't have time for a 4-hour episode today, so I think the game plan is kind of just reveal round 3 here, run through it. If you're listening, we have a visual up on the YouTube that you can see all of the teams and their selections.
Most of our viewers, I think at this point, are watching either on YouTube or Spotify, but if you are watching on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts or Amazon or something, and you're wondering about what this visual is, we'll have it posted on socials, or you can go check like YouTube or Spotify as well to find it there.
But regardless,
yes,
here's what the third round ended up looking like. We are going to discuss some of the more interesting picks. I hope some of them you can understand through the way that we've been working through the first couple of rounds already. There are a couple of mine that I want to just explain relatively briefly. And then there's a couple of picks that I didn't make that I had some questions about potentially.
You don't have questions about the picks that you made? Interesting.
No, but I do have explanations. I mean, I don't know how you guys want to get into this. Do you want to just read through the rest of it here real quick?
Yeah, I think I'll just read through them all here if that's fine. I'm not going to go over who picked it necessarily, but going again in the same order as round 2, Miami took Zach Bond. Arizona took Trey McBride. The Raiders took Amon-Ra St. Brown. The Browns took Laramie Tunsil. The Jets took Jack Campbell. The Titans took Trent McDuffie. The Saints took Quinnen Williams. The Panthers took CeeDee Lamb. The Falcons took Abdul Carter. The Steelers took Quinn Miners. The Giants took Jesse Bates. The Commanders took Daniel Jones. The Vikings took Malik Neighbors. The Colts took Nico Collins. The Cowboys took Tucker Kraft. The Bengals took Tyler Smith. The Jaguars took Mac Jones. The Bears took Michael Penix Jr. The Buccaneers took Jahmyr Gibbs. The Texans took Tet McMillan, the GOAT. The Broncos took Armand Membu. The Patriots took Derek Brown. The Packers took Jalen Carter. The 49ers took Garrett Wilson. The Lions took Carson Schwessinger. The Chargers took Darnell Wright. The Chiefs took A.J. Brown. The Seahawks took Garrett Bowles. The Eagles took Jahad Campbell. The Ravens took Tyler Linderbaum, got him back. The Bills got Caleb Downs, and the Rams, Zach Frazier. Any questions?
Okay. So first and foremost, the quarterbacks that you took, Blaiden Kirk.
Yes, I did. I took a lot.
Holy cow, man. You took...
Why take a quarterback at this point? Like, they're all... You're going to be shit either way. Like, why are we passing on defensive rookies of the year and franchise left tackles and number 1 prospects?
Anyway, we only took 29 quarterbacks. There are 3 teams that don't have quarterbacks right now.
If you're like the last 5...
You're going to end up with Shador or Watson or...
No, you're not going to end up starting Shador. You might end up starting Aaron Rodgers or Geno Smith or Jacoby Brissett or
That's
something
not
like
great.
that.
That's not great.
Neither is what you picked, man. The thing is that the gap between, you don't have to have the
It's not linear.
the 30th quarterback, right? It's not linear. And you get to a point where the hope that any of these guys become your franchise quarterback really starts to dwindle anyway, that they're kind of placeholders that probably have a pretty decent ceiling no matter what you do. Now, Mac Jones has played some decent football before, and there's a time when people were high on Penix, but even then, Penix is kind of older and injury prone. Like, I really, really don't love either of those picks. Honestly, dude, I'd rather take a shot. Like, what about Ty Simpson? Screw it.
Yeah.
At least we don't know what he is. I'm not that high on him, but I wouldn't rather have Mac Jones or
No,
Michael Penix.
I would rather have or Beck or Aller. Like, there's a couple of rookies in this
Give me
class.
the unknowns for sure.
I did think about Aller. I also thought about Richardson.
I would rather, I mean, Richardson not being on the board here just goes to show, because look, Mac Jones was nothing for many years in Jacksonville. Even he was a backup. And I just think, and even if Mac Jones is the best available quarterback, there are so many teams as we snake up and down round 4, round 5, round 6. You're only competing with 5 other teams for this Mac Jones. So you just can, there's no reason to prioritize, I feel like, someone who at the end of the day, when you get to the playoffs, your starting quarterback is Mac Jones. Like, you're getting eliminated most likely because of that. Right. So,
well, I would argue,
yes, I would rather have Derek Brown,
because we doubled up on edge rusher instead of taking Malik Willis.
I would
or Baker Mayfield.
Sure, but like, Mac Jones will have more of a chance, or whoever it is will have more of a chance if the best run defender in the league is on their side, Derek Brown or something like that, or someone who could be an elite linebacker for 10 years in Carson Schwessinger. They'll have more of a chance, or the next guy will have more of a chance.
My counter argument is we've got 2 of the Patriots interior defensive linemen still on the board. Barmore did not go in this draft at all. Neither did Milton Williams, right? It's like Derek Brown's great, but there's still a lot of great defensive linemen on the board.
There's still a lot of mediocre quarterbacks left. And there will be, even if you're pick 32. Because I could throw out guys like Tanner McKee or Quinn Ewers.
Will Levis.
Yeah, I'm
Spencer Rattler.
Rattler is probably.
Who knows who the next Mac Jones could be? It could be anyone. Like,
yeah, I just don't think those guys have proven nearly enough to be worthy of costing you a serious player. Because I mean, there's a real chance you could take a quarterback in round 15 and end up with a comparable player. Truly, when's the first backup gonna go? It's not going to be in the first 15 rounds. That's for dang sure.
A while. Unless you could take 3 quarterbacks.
You could, if you were trying to like troll in the 32 team fantasy football league. You could do that, but like I just really, really, really question if you're getting any value at all here. If there's any gap at all between these players, you know? And I think the answer is just no, there really isn't. Between these guys and the other like borderline starter kind of interesting dudes who could have stretches, right? I just don't think Penix has proved much. Mac Jones, I understand he was good for San Francisco when he started, but I think a number of guys probably would have been fine in that same circumstance. You've got like a Quinn Ewers out there. You've got other first round picks who either haven't played at all, like Ty Simpson. You got other rookies like a Becker and Aller who maybe you could see something in. Ewers had his moment last year. So I don't know. I just think there's a lot of comparable options. You could even double up on them way later in the draft and say, if this doesn't work, we're just going to be aggressive.
Rodgers. Yeah.
Or you could get a vet and say, like, if we're planning on being one of the teams with the worst starting quarterbacks and that's the reality we found ourselves in, fine. What are you going to do? But like, there's better ways to play it than just saying like, well, I have to take quarterback 27 so I don't get quarterback 32.
Yeah, why not take Mac Jones round 1? If you're willing to take him in round 3 with some of these guys on the board, like it's not that different than taking him in round 1, in my opinion, just because like, well, we need one of the top 32 quarterbacks from last year. So why on earth would we prioritize if you're not willing to prioritize Mac Jones over Tristan Wirfs, like how much different is it prioritizing him over Darnell Wright or Carson Schwessinger or AJ Brown or Garrett Bowles or someone like that, because those are all guys who went after him.
Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying there. But yeah, I looked at a lot of these teams and I'm like, dude, you're gonna be quarterbackless. But in the
They are
round,
quarterbackless. Like they straight up are.
And there are still 3 teams that are quarterbackless. So
but are you quarterbackless when you have Mac Jones? Like you might be.
Maybe,
I mean,
but
he's like one of those guys. There's just a lot of them, you know. I'm sure there's certain situations he could have a fine season in, but I feel the same way about a handful of other guys. I feel the same way about more than 32 guys. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And because of that, you really, really don't need to take one with a 3rd round pick over like the offensive rookie of the year, for example, who plays a very valuable position.
I thought about Tet there.
I mean, okay, think about it like this. Mbu, when he went right after Michael Penix. So if Atlanta calls up the Jets, who don't really have a quarterback, they're gonna say, yeah, send over Penix and we'll send you Mbu. No way.
Yeah, you're not even close to a chance. They call up the Lions and they'll say, well, we'll give you Michael Penix if you give us Shabir Gibbs. No, you're not getting that deal. Or if you're Kyle Shanahan, like, yeah, Mac Jones came in and kept the team afloat last year. Good job. Did he keep the team afloat or did Christian McCaffrey keep the team afloat? Like, who do you think Kyle Shanahan would rather part with or trade away or cut?
Well,
Mac Jones or Christian McCaffrey? Christian McCaffrey's still on the board.
I think Kyle Shanahan would do anything to put Christian McCaffrey in a cryo chamber and clone him and have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although maybe he might have a Mac Jones fetish.
He does like his. He does like.
I might have him all wrong.
He does like his medium ugly quarterbacks a little bit, doesn't he?
Look, and if Mac Jones is your answer at quarterback, I do think it could work. But like, you got to be willing to play the long game, like with this, and like really build up the roster before going quarterback. Because like, yeah, eventually you're gonna get left. You're gonna get left with somebody, but you might start with. You might be getting a Max Crosby instead of a Malik Willis. You might be getting a Max Crosby instead of a Baker Mayfield or someone who can really, really be at the top of their position. So I think you just needed to.
My disagreement on this quarterback thing comes from is that, yes, like you could wait because, like in theory, there is like the gap might not be that big. But if you're a team and you have like your big board of players in this scenario. Like, it's the same thing with Ty Simpson a little bit. It's like we wouldn't have taken Ty Simpson highly because we didn't have a high grade on him, but the Rams did because the Rams have a high grade on him. And
that's so totally different.
I don't think it is because if you have a high grade, on someone, then someone else probably.
But so you have a high grade on Penix or Mac Jones?
No.
Okay, come on.
Right. And I mean. Even Justin Fields
it's just the theory of like a quarterback. Like I do think that I maybe it's because we only did 3 rounds. And so like, that's where my head is at. But like, I do feel like these teams would want to come out all with a quarterback that they've chosen instead of one that's been like chosen for them.
But it's largely,
but we're already at that point.
Anyway. Like it's over.
We're already at that point. It was at that point once, like, especially once like Baker goes off the board. It's like, all right,
yeah.
Like, well,
the Baker is truly the line where like, and then
or Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones I can even see because Daniel Jones
is a risk, but the offensive line.
That one I understand. He's also like a guy I would consider in that tier, but it was a very short stint. And now he's coming off like an Achilles tear, so it's a lot. But I understand that one. But then after that,
and he was third string in Minnesota, like not that long ago. So like, you can't. Obviously, it doesn't work every time. It doesn't work every time that like some backup comes in and you're just chilling. Like, but. Yeah. These guys, once you get to this point, the guys who can run a good offensive infrastructure, you don't need to prioritize them. That's all. Like this guy who was a third string in Minnesota is now, getting like MVP buzz week 8. Daniel Jones, like when you dark horse, like, well, if you look at the stats, he's one of our best quarterbacks this year. Like, where did he come from? Like, how long, if we did this fantasy draft before last year, how long would you have had to have waited to get Daniel Jones? It would have been forever.
Right.
So I think you'd just be better off. And if you're going to take a flyer and take it at the end. Don't take it right now with real all pros still on the board. And that was my big complaint with this round 3 is
Manny
stay strong and hold out for the quarterbacks.
Manny just texted us and said, Caleb, Loveland, and Burden to Penix, Alt, and Andrew Thomas.
Yeah.
Sorry, big dog. Yeah.
Well, Burden still, you could still
even
get
also hold on. Jesse Bates.
What's wrong with Jesse Bates?
This is come on.
What's wrong with Jesse Bates?
Hell no.
What is wrong with Jesse Bates?
I've been cool with the defensive back stuff. I'm not even going to bring up how many off-ball linebackers we took. Okay, 30-year-old off-ball linebacker. Zach Bond really is special.
I was going to say anything. I didn't. Hey, Bond is. That's not the linebacker I would have taken there.
But you took Jesse Bates.
Jesse Bates is awesome. Jesse Bates is
He's going to be like 30 years old.
So is Zach Bond.
Jesse Bates has been good for way longer.
Who cares?
I don't think that's any different than taking Fred Warner. Like, really, truly.
And Jesse Bates is not as good as Fred Warner.
He's one of the best safeties in the NFL.
He's not as good as Fred Warner. Come on.
I mean, in terms of value, if we're talking about like erasing an area of the field, that's like Jesse Bates' whole thing. Like teams can't throw deep on Jesse Bates at all.
No, I'm sorry. He's not Fred Warner, and he's not worth anywhere close to being.
And he's a good run defender.
Like, no, this is insane. He's too old for this. With the guys where they're 24, it's fine because you get them for a long time. But with Bates turning like 30 next year, come on, this is crazy.
I have a issue. Your pick, Blaiden, that's not even Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates, like, yeah, he's a ball hawk. He's a ball hawk.
Yeah.
He gets a lot more interceptions than other safeties. Like, if I'm going to be taking 30-year-old Bond and 30-year-old Saquon and 30-year-old, like, I can't really say too much about Jesse Bates. But what I will say, Jack Campbell is the one I had the biggest issue with because he's not really a good player in space. Like, he's not a very good middle hole player. He's not a very good play finisher. If I was the Jets fans and I came away with Mendoza, Byron Murphy, and Jack Campbell as my top 3, I think I might light myself on fire.
This would have been fine if you had just kept like the young offensive core going, or just pick like, we're going to be super youthful, bro. We're going to be the most fun team to rebuild in Madden, bro. That would have been heat. So no strays on my Murphy pick, thank you. But yes, send more strays towards you guys picked a gajillion linebackers and Jesse Bates.
We didn't pick a gajillion linebackers. We just picked all the best linebackers because after there becomes a certain point where the linebacker level just drops like pretty dramatically. And that's what I was trying to avoid was like, if I can get a good linebacker now, and Jack Campbell's young and he's been developing really well. Like, I get there's still some kinks in his game, and I didn't love the draft pick, but he's been a productive.
I'm listening to this. All the nutrients and minerals are shooting out of my body, and I'm withering up and dying, Blaiden. I think
Campbell
Bates
is
even crazier.
Jack Campbell just got an extension. Was he the highest paid linebacker? Did you reset the linebacker market?
Was he the highest paid linebacker?
I know the money isn't everything, and I picked against the money myself some too, for sure. But how much is Jack Campbell making?
He's making less than Fred Warner. But he's second. He didn't quite get Fred Warner money, but he's second. Yeah. I just think he's a lot more limited than like Zach Bond. Look, I know that he's 30, but again, I'm thinking more of winning right away. And Zach Bond is not a problem in space at all. Like, he's good at all the things that Campbell's good at, but way better in coverage and just a way better play finisher, I believe. Campbell's good down around the box. I like Jack Campbell. He's a good run defender. He's
run defender.
Yes, he's a great run defender. He is great playing blocks and making tackles and all of that. But I feel like with Schlesinger and I have my monopoly on linebackers here with Schlesinger and Bond and Warner. I feel like those are really well-rounded players, not only defending the run, but in coverage. Jack Campbell is a great player in run defense, but he's not a great player in coverage. So I just don't think you could take that kind of linebacker here in round 3. The other ones that I took, I just think are more, they could use their well-rounded blast.
Schlesinger, I really thought about taking Schlesinger really high. But part of my concern there is like how much of it is the impact of playing behind a really great defensive line and playing in Jim Schwartz's scheme, right? Because I think Schlesinger is really good at like doing the JOK role of being this like kind of react and fire, and I think he's better at it because I think he picks his spots better. But we've yet to see it without Garrett. We've yet to see it without Jim Schwartz. And if there's any chance of him taking a step back, that's like the one concern that I have.
Yeah, I'm concerned about, let's see it for more than 1 year, and he's got to clean up his play finishing too. Like, he's still lighter, I think, than those other guys, not as good of a tackler as those other guys. But
yeah,
I mean, it's not a scheme thing to watch him maneuver an offensive lineman and make a tackle. And he's a great blitzer and he's great in coverage. Like, he's somebody that when I took him, I was like, well, maybe he should have gone far higher than this, because first of all, I think off the ball linebacker is way more valuable than it's being paid. First of all, I think it's crazy how low Fred Warner's salary is. When you look at the top defenses of the 2000s and of all time, they're all led by elite Mike linebackers, whether it be Derek Brooks or Ray Lewis or Navarro Bowman or Bobby Wagner. I guess the 2025 Seahawks weren't so much, but even then it's like guys that they're that second level and Eamon Worry and Witherspoon and guys like that. I don't know. But
I mean, if you ask the Seahawks players about like who one of their most valuable defenders, a lot of them say Ernest Jones,
Yeah. And he was second team all pro even. So I think that there's a correlation between like having a great linebacker and a great defense. So that's why I prioritized him a little bit. But Campbell, I like I said, not the caliber of linebacker of the top 3 to me.
Sure. But he is a really special run defender, and I think he has enough movement skills that he could develop into a better coverage player.
I don't think so. He's 26.
Sure.
Which is young. I mean, he's young. He's not old. He's not 30.
He's 26, so maybe how much development room is there still? I can see that. But
yeah. What pick are you most proud of? What pick did you like the most out of this third round? We're not going to go through every single one, but is there one you're just like,
there's one that I took Abdul Carter high, a little bit higher than we took him in our redraft. I just think like he's too talented and his end of year was too special. I gave him Defensive Rookie of the Year for a reason. Mm-hmm. And while I didn't take him like that low on the guys that I drafted, because I went Ward, I went Loveland, I went M'Boo, and then I went Carter. So here I go, Carter then M'Boo. So like still like relatively similar. But yeah, he's too valuable, I think, and showed way too much at the end of last year not to go really, really high. And I understand like with some of the young dudes, because in general, I took a lot of the young guys, and I'll tell you this, if we went another round, it would get even younger and probably even more slanted towards offensive line for me, because then you really start to open the floodgates towards the end here, where I think like, just give me the guys that I think could play another 7 years or whatever and get that unit going. But if you hit on those dudes, you hit as big as a lot of the really, really high picks in the draft, right? I really think I'm not overestimating the odds that a guy who looks really good in year one then turns into the all-pro we expect them to be. I just think that the risk on them is, or the reward on them, I should say, is well worth it. So yeah, give me a McMillan, give me whoever.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
the Tet pick was really, really good. Same with Mimbu. That was a guy that I was hoping would fall to me to take there. I loved my Jesse Bates pick. I know Matt hates it, but that was a pick that I really liked.
I just think he's too old.
I get the age thing. I also thought about Xavier Watts, but I that's another guy I want to see more of, and I would like to see in maybe a world where he's not necessarily playing off of Bates, because I think Bates is still doing like most of the work in that secondary. The picks that I made that I do really like, you took Derek Brown, Theo. I took Jalen Carter after you took Derek Brown. I was surprised Jalen Carter made it that far. Honestly, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL. I thought for sure, like, there was like, because I'm at work making this list, and so part of me is like, oh, I assume Jalen Carter's already gone, and then I'm like looking through the list and I'm like, wait, no, he's not. And so I was like, yeah, let me absolutely take him here for Green Bay, for your Packers, Theo.
Yeah.
And then I got Tyler Linderbaum towards the end for Baltimore. An offensive line, I think in general is pretty valuable to get here. Tackle is one that particularly stands out as like, you want to try and get those centerpieces, especially going up against some of the best edge rushers in football. But I mean, we've seen how important a top tier center can be for an offense, especially for a run game. I think bringing in Linderbaum would be really nice. And I think at the end of the third round here is pretty good value, considering he's one of the best centers in football. I think right up there with Creed. So those were two that I really liked.
Yeah, I took the guards here in round 3. I took Quinn Miners and Tyler Smith.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I think it was well past time to take them. And I guess my whole philosophy over the course of this draft is just getting, player ones at certain positions a little bit earlier than where you guys have them. I feel like I got the best linebackers and the best running backs and the best guards and the best center and so on down the line. Mm-hmm. And that was what I was really prioritizing. And look, Quinn Miners, he's always super healthy and just play in and play out and play in and play out. He does the right thing and can block anybody in the run game, gash open huge holes. It's a little bit unfair. No matter what you think about Bo Nix and how bad you think he might be, it's kind of hard to ever learn because he's never heated up. Like, his pass protection is always so good. And Quinn Miners is a huge part of that. Like, mm-hmm. No matter what quarterback ends up being back there, when you've got a really good offensive line, it's kind of hard for them to fail. And we talked about defensive tackles and how those top tier duos and pressure getting guys all made it to the Final Four. Well, how do you counter that? Good guard play, good center play. So I thought getting these top guards in the third round was what I was most proud of. Yeah.
And then before we get out here, I would like to go over the totals of positions taken, of each position taken, and then how that's split up between the three of us. So total quarterbacks taken 29. There were 3 that weren't taken. Only 3 running backs taken, all by Theo, by the way. 13 wide receivers. Matt, you took 10 of them. Only 4 tight ends, Matt. Only 4 tight ends, Matt. Matt, you took 3 of the tight ends too. You dominated the pass catchers.
Yeah, and if we win another round, I was about to load up a Fannin and a Warren. I can tell you that right now.
I was thinking about Fannin.
You took Warren and Fannin, didn't you, in the third?
Nah, I ended up switching it.
He ended up switching.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it.
And who did you take instead? Frazier and...
Well, you took Warren, and then I think did you switch it to Tet?
No, I think I had Warren, and then I switched it to McMillan.
Wright and Frazier. I understand switching them, especially switching Warren out. Fannin could have stayed.
You're too low on Warren. Both of those guys are psychotically good for rookie tight ends. And really, the difference maker is that Fannin is 2 years younger.
Yep.
And they're
Fan and the
neck
goat.
and neck.
Fan rocks. For offensive tackle, 11 of them were taken. It was pretty evenly split. I took 3. Theo and Matt, you each took 4. Interior offensive line, Theo, you took the only 2 guards. I guess I marked it that way. And then we each took 1 center.
Okay.
Making it a total of 3. Edge rushers. Matt, you dominated this as well with 5 of them. Total of 8. I took 1. Theo, you took 2. Interior defensive line, 7, dominated by Theo, taking 4 of them. Matt, you took 2. I took 1. 5 linebackers split between Theo and I took 2. He took 3. Corners, 7. I took the most of these, taking 4 of them. Theo, you took 3. Matt, you didn't take any. Again, not super surprising. And then Theo and I also took the only safeties. We each took 2 of them.
Okay. So let's computer simulate.
How many quarterbacks did I take?
Theo, you took the fewest quarterbacks of 6. Matt, you took 7. And then I took 16.
Okay, well, you bumped up those numbers by taking like every QB in a million billion years.
You panicked. You didn't hold.
Okay, no. I didn't the second round was kind of like out of my hand. If I let those guys pass, those teams would have gotten no quarterback. Like,
we could have all held out and gotten super teams.
Yeah, Here's computer simulate what all the rookies would get if they were offered contracts right now. Then add up the value of all of those contracts of each of our picks, and then I think that's probably the most fairest way to determine who got the best value. Yes, I do.
Interesting.
Yes,
Interesting.
Yes, I do.
You got the most expensive. You made the most expensive picks.
That's fine.
And
we got money over here.
No one has ever been underpaid.
And no one's ever been underpaid. You're absolutely correct.
Pay discrepancy is always just the glorious free market.
I took Tucker Kraft really high. I took Tucker Kraft because I thought his skill set was very rare and that he could be good for a long time. And he's
Banger
one of my
pick.
favorite.
He'll be ready for week 1 too. Shout out.
This is the graph that breaks down the pick distribution.
I just took a million receivers and I won by taking all the receivers.
You took all the pass catchers. You took all the receivers and all the tight ends. And
no. I think having the different philosophies is good and fun.
Beautiful balanced Theo. Look at that. Just evenly distributed red.
I need unbalanced Matthew.
Bloated.
Theo, you
This is rage, Matt. This is rage.
Theo, you did have the
most the emotion. I know it's
you did have the most distribution between your picks. You only had one position group that you didn't pick from, and that's tight end. Matt,
I'm sorry, tight ends. I got you next time, but Kittle.
Why didn't you take
Kittle?
He's my kind of guy. He's a fake woke position. He's old, and he's old. That's my exact player.
Bro's taking Jimmy Graham out of retirement.
Well-rounded woke position who's old. Kittle is still number 1 on my target list, but we can get him later.
Oh, brother. But yes, that'll do it.
Hold tight, Mr. George.
Hold tight. That'll do it for the first 3 rounds of the All NFL Redraft. We hope you enjoyed. This was a lot of fun to do. Very hard draft to pull off, but I think it came together quite nicely with a decent selection of guys here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute blast. And until next time, as always, from your favorite fellows here at Stay Out, we will catch you on the flippity flop.